All right, well, here I am in the garage again, and I've got the whole side of it emptied out, and I've got what parts I've got close at hand, and this is the weekend where we're going to start the reassembly of this drivetrain for real. So I have my flywheel resurfaced, I have my new clutch here, I have all the painting done of the block, the transmission, and the transfer case. So my focus this week is going to be on getting all those pieces put back together and as close as I can get it to being ready to drop back in that frame. So give me a second, we'll get rolling on that, and we'll see if we can't get something done here. All right, to get this flywheel mounted back to the back of the crankshaft, there's only one way that the bolts line up, or maybe a quarter of a turn or 3/4 of a turn or something. You have to kind of rotate it around until all the bolt holes line up properly, and it was always making me a little nervous working on this thing with it hanging off the hoist because it was shaking it all around, and just don't like having heavy things hanging over me. All right, well, what I wanted to do was be able to get the engine hoist disconnected from the block so that I could pick up the transmission and transfer case, which are over there on the table with the hoist. And B, I wanted to have this thing kind of steady so that as I'm trying to torque down the bolts on the flywheel and stuff, it's not just swinging on the engine hoist. So what I've done is, again, I've pressed my little moving dolly into service here as the heavy duty holding component. I've got 3 2x4s stacked up there, and I've got those down on either side of the crankshaft, and where the pistons and stuff show, stick out underneath. So I'm not sure if you can see that all that well, but it's on there, and it's good and stable. So I'm going to unhook the chains that are holding the engine hoist here, pick this transmission transfer case up, and hopefully I've got enough clearance now to get that on here on the front. So the back, whatever. So I'll do that and see how that goes. So I pulled that bushing that sits on the cross member off the transmission to give me a little bigger face to set on the lumbar. And it took me several attempts, but I did finally get the transmission and transfer case set on one of the carts so I can move it around now and line it up properly. Okay, well, we're at the point where we're going to get ready to put our clutch together. And I have not torqued down the flywheel bolts yet, but I'm going to do that in a second. But then before I go very far, I'm going to put the pilot bushing in. So I have a new pilot bushing here. I'll show you where this goes. So if we look at my transmission input shaft here, pilot bushing basically goes there. Okay, so you can see it spins on there pretty easy.
Once we get it in, we're going to put a little wheel bearing grease on it. And where it's going to go is right in there. And it's going to be a tight fit in there, so we're going to have to kind of drive it in with a socket. So I'll get it set up and we'll drive that thing in there, and then we'll torque these bolts up. These bolts should be torqued to 100 pounds. So I have put a clamp on the flywheel, and it's kind of in a gap back here in the back of the block. So hopefully that will keep our flywheel from trying to turn while we torque those bolts down. So let's give this a whirl and see how it goes. Well, all forward progress kind of came screeching to a halt here. I was torquing down the flywheel bolts, and a couple of them just felt like they were stripping. So I stopped, pulled them out. The threads on a couple of them look a little iffy, so I just went upstairs and ordered a new set from Summit Racing, and I overnighted them, but it's the weekend, so they won't get here till Tuesday. So can't really continue on with the clutch until I get the flywheel torqued down. So I think we're at a dead spot here for now. About the only thing I can do is I do see my arm for the throwout bearing down there needs a little paint. Doesn't everything need paint? Just part of it, but the whole thing needs paint, you know, but it is, part of it sticks out of the bell housing, and it's just kind of metal with some rust and stuff on it. So I'll clean the garage up, situate everything. I can at least roll the transmission and the engine over to the side because I have them both on my little moving dollies so I can get them out of my way. Clean this spot up. Went and got my COVID test today. I won't get the results back for a while, so not really sure if I should be mixing with the public at this point. So here we go again, sitting around the house twiddling the thumbs waiting for the test to come back. So anyway, I'll leave it here for now. I'll be back.
So this is the part that goes inside the throwout bearing and hooks it to the arm. I'm not sure why that's so oily. There's the old throwout bearing. So I'll clean up that first part, throw away the old throwout bearing, and then here is the arm that activates the thing that we're going to clean up and put a little paint on.
All right, well, it's a parts haul Monday for sure here. So we have our Pro Flow EFI system here. You can see from the picture what I was describing. Injectors at the intake ports. Got my headers. We got our twin stick thing, so I'll bust that out in a minute. And then we'll open up these boxes, which I should have, I believe, valve covers and fuel pump regulator, distributor that goes with this. All that might be in this kit. So a couple of other things. So let's bust some of these open. Have a look, shall we? the fuel injection system, the pump headers, there's a starter in there, fuel or valve cover gaskets or valve covers, and that's all the major stuff. So what's still coming is crankshaft bolts should be here tomorrow, and then I did one more shipment with these guys for wires, spark plug wires, spark plugs, a couple other little doodads like that, nothing as expensive as this little pile. So that's where we're going to leave it for now. I'll be waiting on parts, and I'll get two more shipments of parts, and then we'll be able to tear back into the reconstruction. So stick around, don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time around.
Yeah.